goes. And we'll be done with that. I said I can. There it is. All right. Let me do this. And I'll be right back. Hold on. This is really easy to do, but okay, let me get back over here and I will share my screen. Um, yeah, let's do this and we'll get started here. One of the things to know is that oftentimes the video that stays in the recording for the replay, that video has been edited. It's not the live stream video. Um, Riverside will edit that video for me and make it available. So I'll oftentimes replace that with the live stream video. So, okay, let's get started here. I'm going to share my screen with you. It may take me a second to do this. I got a brand new computer. Um, Yesterday, and I have tested this multiple times, and everything was good. And now it's telling me that I need to do this. There we go. All right. Okay, I will be right back. Everybody, hang on just a second. I'll be right back. All right. Sorry about that. Are you still with me?
Yep.
All right. Okay. Let's get started here. Um, I don't know. I dreaded getting a new computer for the very reason that you just got a chance to experience. So, let me get my right.
Eric, your camera's blurred.
Is it?
Hmm.
Hmm. I ran it just a minute ago and it was fine. I don't think. Is that any better? Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just blurred.
No, you were clear before. Now you're blurred.
I am? Okay, hold on. Oh, okay. I think I know what's going on. Does that look better?
A little. Try sharing your screen to see if we can read it.
Try sharing my screen. That's what I was doing, and I think that's where we got lost. Is
Okay, you're clear now.
all right. Now I got to start everything all over again. I'm a bad demo today. This is how not to do something. Okay, it's gonna make me sign in. That's good. All right, let's go down here to the agenda. This should be fine. Now, how's it look now, Therese?
It looks good.
Okay. All right, let's go to the agenda then. And I'm going to walk through some of this stuff real quickly here. Um, and some of it's just historical. When I talk about creating engaging content, I've been the community manager for a number of communities, and these are the ones that you'll probably recognize or maybe recognize. Um, I started with Usign. We grew that to about 40,000 members in the community. They had 300,000 people in the users group, but they had 40,000 people that were actively involved and engaged on Facebook. Um, uh, um, Rose and I managed that community. Uh, we were able to make that a really good, warm, friendly, active community where we really felt like we were connected and together. We had a gentleman. His name was Gene. Gene was very involved, and then one day he didn't show up, and I questioned and I asked if anybody had heard from him, and there happened to be somebody on who later did a just did a Google search to see if he could find anything about Gene, and found out that he had passed away 3 days earlier. So we held a tribute to Gene, an online tribute, and so that's the kind of community concept that we were able to create in that community. Then we had from Usign led to my involvement in Everlesson, and Everlesson was a short-lived um, LMS, a learning management system. We had about 35,000 people in that group, and everything that happened in that group, I did. Um, it was not my group. In fact, none of these top three here were my groups. In fact, none of them have been my groups, but I've been the guy in each of those. And I'll talk when I get into the 9 steps and that create engagement. Talk a little bit more about each one of these as we go and use them as examples. So this is the history. This is kind of give you an idea of what those people are like, what those communities were like. And then finally, Designer. When I took Designer, it had 400 people in it. Today, it has 46,000. We're just about to hit 47,000, and they were not happy people when I took over that group, and that's all I can say is they just were not happy people. And my promise to the owner was, I'll make them happy, and we'll grow the group. And so we went from 400 to almost 47,000 people now. We were recognized as the fastest growing marketing group by Href Magazine the first year that we did that, and they identified 8 things that we did, some of which are going to be shared today. But Href Magazine identified 8 of the things that we did that grew that group, and they promoted that as being the way that you grow and develop a community online. online, and it wasn't particularly had to be a Facebook group, although these are, but it had to be a community that was growing active and was involved. And then secondarily, I have been involved in um, Convertry at a very high level in Convertry. We did a Convertry summit one time in which we invited all the users to join us, and myself and two other guys, and I'll talk about why that's important in just a minute. Myself and two other guys actually walked their users through a an online summit, and we came up with all kinds of ideas that it's a landing page builder, all kinds of ways that landing page builder could be used to accomplish all kinds of really cool stuff. I got a lot of business from that. I got a lot of exposure from that, and was really helpful to create that as a really cool community. And people who had seen me in these other places were not at all surprised to see that I was there. Vobot's one of the marketing companies that I use all the time, and some of the things I'm going to share have also been shared in that group. And then I can't reveal this yet, but working on, and I'll have a meeting about that before the end of the week, taking a 300,000 member group, moving them off of, we won't move them off of Facebook, but we'll move them to one of our communities, and and from there be able to do more with that group than we can do with it inside of Facebook. So um, that kind of gives you an idea about what I have done when I talk about communities and how do you get them involved and how do you get them engaged and that kind of a thing. And I'm going to share some things. Let me do something here that will help us. Let's see. I still got that. Good. Okay, hang on. Let me check the chat here because I see a chat message. I don't want to miss that. Oh, Dawn's just saying hello. Well, thank you, Dawn. Um, but everything I'm going to share here has been tested in those groups. I've literally tested these. I've run them as tests. I've run them because they successfully passed that test, and so you're going to see a tremendous amount of my experience here, and then also validated by research and recognized by peers. So let's take a quick run through this. Anytime you're in that community, you can always use this arrow button here to make your screen bigger. Maybe that'll be easier for y'all to see and read. But the first thing is you want to define your community's core purpose in one sentence. You want to make it really, really simple. Um, what it is that you do and why you have that group. When we did that with Uzyme, we got it down to a single statement, and that single statement was that we helped you do whatever you wanted to do to be more visible online. And that's not the exact definition of that, but that's what our purpose was. With Everlesson, we were trying to make it very easy for people to create courses. It was a course creation platform, and we were making it easy for people to create courses. They had some very complicated things inside of the platform, and that's where I got started creating videos. And before I knew it, I had over 1,000 videos I had created to make it simple for people to create online courses. Many of those things I still use today to help people create courses on other platforms and other methodology. But you have to be able to define that in a single sentence. Now, designer's purpose is that we help people publish their work. I'm not talking about publishing on Kindle or publishing on Harper Collins or I'm just talking about going from an idea in your head to an idea on paper that can be delivered to somebody else. And so that's our purpose. We know very clearly what that purpose is. So everything that goes into the group has to meet that purpose. And you don't want to. I've had communities before where people wanted to share things that didn't fit the purpose of the group, and if you start doing that, then you begin to have an engagement problem. Now, engagement's not easy. You know, when you look at this, we have 400,000 people that are users of Designer. We have 46,000 people who are in the group. Of that 46,000, we probably have 700 that are actively involved. Same thing's true in this community. Every one of these communities, getting engagement is not easy, but I can share with you the things that I've done. I can share with you what the results are, and we can begin to build on that platform. So the first one is define your community's core purpose in a single sentence. Make this very clear from the beginning. You're setting the expectations at the start. Number two, create a welcome message template that hooks new members. You want to give them when the moment that they join. I think this is really funny because I have automated, now that I've got you all that are normally attending the webinars, I've automated when somebody joins the community. I automated that because I say this can be automated. So I built my automated welcome message the other day, and somehow when I hit save, I deleted it. So the next three people who joined the group, who I know, the next three people who joined the group got an automated empty message. And that's not really the message that I wanted to get across, but they know me. I actually have a conversation. I'll talk about that in just a little bit with a couple of them this week. So it's not a major issue in that case, but once that community starts to grow, you don't want to have that happen. It was one of those. I was getting my infusion treatment. I'm sitting in a chair trying to stay awake, and I'm typing this out, and somehow I hit delete instead of save, and so it saved the template with nothing inside of it. But this is what they need. They need to have a personalized message. Use their name. I know that that's part of personalization. It's not everything, but if they join, and I have one community that we're in the process of building that is a rural business market community, and there's 4 different areas of rural business, and I'll give you one of them. There's obviously ag and ag supporting kind of stuff like that, but then there's also for retail businesses. And so if they have clicked on the retail business and downloaded the resource for that, when they join that list, then we want to talk to them about retail businesses in the rural community. Tell me in the chat if that makes sense, because when you personalize that message, it's not just their name, but sometimes it's the action that they took that got them there. You read this article, and so here's something else that might be helpful to you. But you want to make that a personalized kind of message so that it makes sense to them. The second thing is you want to give them a helpful tip. If I know that they're looking for retail and retails are struggling in the rural community because they don't get the kind of traffic that they should, then I want to give them a helpful traffic tip. Maybe I want to talk to them about the hours that they're open. Forever, businesses were open from 8 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon. In some communities, that's a really bad idea. In fact, 70% more people visit a retail establishment when they're open between 5 and 8 in the evening than they do when they're open from 8 to 5 during the day. So helpful tips like that can be beneficial to that community. And so I know something about this, so I can give them a helpful tip. Now, obviously, if they have indicated that they're interested in agriculture and agriculture related products, then I'm not going to talk to them about retail store hours. That doesn't make good sense. So you want to give helpful tips, and the focus there needs to be on being helpful in your tips. Number three, you want to ask them a question that encourages participation. You want to ask them, maybe if I'm going to give them a helpful tip, I might ask them what are their hours. I want to develop a habit of getting feedback from them. I want to develop the habit of getting engagement from them. What is your biggest challenge? When I took over the designer group, what is your biggest challenge using this product? And I got all kinds of answers, so many different kinds of answers. I couldn't come up with a simple, helpful tip that would help. So I had a solution to that, and I'll talk about that solution in just a minute. But Getting them to give you participation makes all the difference in the world. The first thing that I did when I took over the designer group was I asked a poll question, and then we referred to that poll question for the next year and started showing how that this met this 60% that responded this way and 45% that responded this way. We referred to that over and over and over and over again. By doing that, you're letting people know that their response to that question was important. Did the same thing with Uzine. Did exactly the same thing when we were with Everlesson. We did the same thing when we did the Convertry Summit. Want to know what are people's pain points and how are we going to help them with that, and you do that to encourage participation. Number three, you want to set up a simple content calendar with 3 weekly themes. Now, I'm not stuck on the 3 weekly themes, but the 3 weekly themes does at least give you a foundation to build on. I did live feeds for 5 years. I did a live feed every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday a week for 5 years, 4 days a week, 5 years straight. And I don't know how many that comes to, but I can tell you this, it's a whole bunch. And there were times when I did that from sitting on the side of the road. There were times when I did that from taking a walk in the park. I kept them to 13 minutes. All of my live feeds were 13 minutes long. But the key was that content for those 4 days was all on the same topic. If I was talking about building a list, or if I was talking, let's take a different thing from building a list. If I was going to talk about what would cause people to click off of your site, one day it would be site speed. The next day it would be navigation. The next day it would be something else. And so I spent 4 days talking about those things. And then on day four was a giveaway day. And my day 4 attendance was always higher than any other day of the week because we had developed a consistency, and that's where your content calendar becomes helpful. We had developed a consistency so that people knew what to expect on what day. Monday, I'd introduce the theme. Tuesday, I would expand on it. Wednesday, I would build on the foundation that had been set the first 2 days, and then on Thursday, we'd wrap it up, put a bow on it, and deliver it to whoever wanted it. And so we built a great list off of that, but we didn't do it for the purpose of list building. But if you set up a simple content calendar with 3 weekly themes, that can help you. And it can help you a lot. It can be very simple. I as high tech as I am, I wrote my content calendar on the walls of my house, stuck big sticky notes up on the wall, and that's where I would write where I was going for this month and what my theme was going to be. And then I could look at it every time I walked by it, I saw it, and seeing it was helpful to me. So that kept me focused on what we were doing. How you deliver that content can vary. It could be a live feed, it could be a blog post. I did a very early on, back, and we're talking about 2007, I did an everyday kick your business off email every day of the week, Monday through Friday, and I wrote it between 4:15 and 5 o'clock, and I delivered it at 5:15. It was emailed to a gigantic list of people that I had, and I frequently got comments about how helpful that was. They looked forward to that. Sales teams were using it to kick off their meetings. I had 2 friends that were teaching school that used it with their classrooms. So just having that calendar with with a clear path of where you're going is going to make a big difference. Number 4, launch your first quick poll within 24 hours. Do it immediately. Now, we're slowly building this group, and one of the reasons why I'm slowly building this group is because I am slowly recovering from some issues, and so I'm slowly building the group. So I don't have that first 24 hours because we're growing it slow as we go. Now it's growing, it's still growing, and there are going to be times when we're going to launch polls in that. We've already got a couple of polls up, and we're expecting to get feedback for that. But you want to set the stage for feedback. Now you may email, You might set it in your community, like I have done. You might email them and tell them where to find it in your community. There's lots of ways that you can do that, but you need to have that feedback loop that gets created. You need to get a habit of that feedback loop. Number 5, create one valuable resource that members can download. Now, I love the download concept, but there are going to be times when people will go, I downloaded that and can't remember what I did with it. So I always save that download and put it someplace. I'll show you where it is in this particular case. Um, Let me push this out here so you can see. And underneath resources right here. Now, just started this morning. I thought I've got to identify where new content's at. So I added this new content button right here, this badge. It will remain there for 2 weeks to let you know that there's new content there. And then I will take it down. Wherever you see that new content badge, there will be new content in that area in your community. So this is this week's. I put the date up here at the top. There's 9 quick steps to creating compelling community engagement. Now, this is a long, I'm sorry, a much longer version of today's webinar. The 9 things I'm talking about today in the webinar, I'm giving you a high level overview based upon some experience that I've had in the past. In this, I'm going to give you deep, detailed research with actual numbers. 65 to 75% of people open that first welcome email. 65 to 70%. There's no other type of email that has that same kind of open rate. So you want to, I wanted to give you the numbers themselves so you'll know why do we do this? Well, we do this because you've increased your chances of getting that responded to. Next on that list of things is, and you'll love this one, is the polls. People respond to polls. Now, there's ways to make the response to the polls really easy. I love to use emojis to do that with, and they make it kind of fun, and people kind of like that. Okay, I got to give you an apple because it was my answer to your poll question was educational, so I gave you an apple. Just cute things like that work really well, amazingly enough. But that's what we're talking about here. Make these resources available. This is the resource I had before. Down here's another resource that I created and no one has looked at yet, which really surprises me. This is how you build a social community using our communities platform. Now, this is the exact video I used to sell the 300,000 member group. So I know this works. I know the content that I put there is helpful and beneficial and it will work. So this is important. All right. But I make this so that you can always have it and it is available to you. Let's go back to the agenda so we can see where we are. Number 5, that's that create the one valuable resource that members can download. Now, I've done that with I've given you a video, given you multiple PDFs, and we're going to continue to do that every week. This is going to become a vast library, or every time that we meet, if we decide to change that for the summertime. But this is going to become a vast library of resources that people can use to create engagement in their groups. All right. Based upon the things that I have done and I have experienced, the people that I have worked with, and my peers, and the research that is available. Number 6, identify and personally message 5 potential champions. Now, we did this in the early days in Usign, and I would interview somebody that had been very effective in creating their designs. And so once a month, we had Champions Month, and that person would be interviewed. I still have contact with those people that we interviewed from that. It was a great time. We had a great opportunity there. I have a friend who did it with authors, and he interviewed 4 of us together at the same time, had a Champions Day, and I still use that video to promote what I do. And it was part of that whole conversation that he had. Now he and I have had conversations about multiple other things, but being recognized as a champion makes it elevates the value that the relationship has with the other person. So you want to communicate to those people that are potential champions or people that you would like to have join your group, or join your community, or people that you think can bring value to your community. And interestingly enough, I used to be, when I was very actively doing this for all of those groups I mentioned before, I would get asked to do that over and over and over and over again, because they recognize this is somebody that when we bring them, they bring something with them. And you want people to know how valuable they are, even if you have to start creating that value with them and for them. Okay. So identifying and personally messaging 5 champions. I think you should do that every day. It takes about 15 minutes. I built a multi-million-dollar insurance company in 6 months by simply doing that one thing. I sent a personal message to 5 people every day. And pretty soon I started to grow that group, and pretty soon the money started to flow, and pretty soon we got that thing off the ground and running. And people, how'd you do that? I personally messaged 5 players every day. Now, you can do that however you choose to do that, but reaching out to 5 people every day, it's a great way to start your day. And you can do that in 15 minutes or less. You create a simple message that you're going to send to them, something that will hook them, something that will not, don't hype them, but something that will hook them, cause them to create an interest in why you would want to do business together. However, that business is defined. Number 7, host a 30-minute live question and answer session. One of the things that we did that turned Designer around drastically, and they've now picked that up and have run with it, is I did what I called open Zoom room. And my open Zoom room, I'd have this little door picture, and I'd have my grandson walking through the door or standing in front of the doorway, and that got people's attention. But that was my open Zoom room, and it was a live Q&A session. And the invitation was, if you're having a problem, bring the problem to the meeting and I'll solve it. So it was a live Q&A session, and it's the way you demonstrate a level of expertise. I never had somebody bring me a problem I couldn't fix. That's makes it pretty simple. It's a software problem. If you follow the software system, it works, and it's not complicated. And so we would do those open Zoom rooms. I did that for 2 years. Today they call it open office hours, and they do it in the middle of the day, and and they record them and they post them in. But I mine were. I said, I want you to look at this as if you were showing up at the bar after hours, after work, and you can say anything, and it's not being recorded, but it is going to be live. And
Eric,
yes,
excuse me. In these documents, can you fix the typos and then they're live as they are? Because you have a typo in number 6.
I do. How
Yes,
dare I
communicate
have a
they
typo?
the way it should be. Communicate the way they want to be.
Exactly.
Can you fix that live and have it fixed now?
Yeah.
So you want to change they to the.
Okay. I will do that. I promise you. And I'm going to do it right now because it's fairly simple to do, just so you'll know that I can do it, because that's one of those stump the expert kind of things, you know? You know what I mean? Get that out of the way. You're still with me, right? Hello? Did you go away?
No, we're still here.
Okay. All right. Because I get a little window that pops up, and I closed the window, and I wasn't sure if that window wasn't the wrong thing to close. New computer, new platform, new all kinds of stuff. And it's driving me crazy. Too many things to try to do in the same weekend. So give me just a second. Clicked on the wrong button and almost lost the live stream. So you will have that in just a second. Now I'll go back over here. We'll refresh that and see if it fixes it for you. There we go.
Yes.
Actually, that's grammatically one of the worst sentences I've ever written. But, you know, there you go. These are kind of notes to myself because you've got the detailed notes that are over there in the PDF, which is, I don't know, 7 or 8 pages long. Number 7, host a 30-minute live session. And it's amazing what will happen when you do that live session. And we can do it on this platform. You see how I do it with YouTube. And so it's hosted live on YouTube. I can host it live on YouTube. I can do it in Facebook. I can do it Instagram. I can put this almost anywhere I want to go with it. So that's a great way to accomplish that purpose. Number 8, implement a simple recognition system. You want to record and recognize the contributions of other people. I showed you last week. I have somebody who has opened up every single email, every email I've ever sent, has gone to every replay that I've ever sent out. Can't attend the webinars, but she scores the second highest of anybody on the entire list. That needs to be recognized. And that's a huge contribution and something that has tremendous value. Recognizing those people. Now, I'm really a stickler about this. If I get an idea from one of you all, I brag you up something wonderful because that's recognition. Recognition is valuable. And I think it has tremendous merit, and failure to do so is just wrong. You should not take somebody else's idea and run with it. I've had that happen to me too many times. And yet, when I am recognized for the contribution, what it does to me is the same thing it'll do to you, I promise. Getting recognized for that contribution is important. So find a way to record and recognize the contributions that other people make. I got this idea from, or so and so. Ray asked this question the other day, and so here's the answer to Ray's question. That's a great way to recognize people, and it encourages engagement, and it gets people to stick around longer. Number 9, and we'll be wrapping this up. Create a quick feedback loop in your system. Create a quick feedback loop system. Give multiple opportunities for feedback. However you do that, and I'll show you a couple of examples here on my recordings page. All right, down here, write a review for the webinar that you just attended. How hard is that to do? I want to make it easy. You know, if you think it's a 5 stars, great. If you think it's a 1 star, tell me. I don't care. I care about getting the feedback. That's what's important. Under the resources page, 2 things. I put a review on this one. On this one, tell me whether this video was helpful or not, because it was helpful to me. 300,000 member group. Yeah. So was this helpful to you? Is there something that you can take from here and use, and so on? All right. Those are all feedback loops. This is another type of a feedback loop. Under the events, on the webinars, these are all my webinars. But if you have something that you're doing or somebody that you know, here's your opportunity to tell us about it, and we'll determine whether we can fit it into what we do. That's why these feedback forms are available. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to do the other form of feedback, and that is, if you have any questions or comments, And let's see here. There's two ways. Now, I have built those two ways. I built a way to get direct messages to me. That's a great question too, by the way. And I can quickly, at least I'll try to quickly show you how to do that. See if I can pop into this group right here. And I can't because it's in that it's got a paywall on it. And I forgot to make myself available past the paywall. But I have created a discussion group here that is moderated. The way you do that is you moderate it. And so if I would go over to any one of these that had a feedback opportunity on it, that's not one. This one right here. This one right here, if I put moderation on it, then that message goes directly to me. It does not show up in the public, it goes directly to me. Now, inside of this mastermind paid group here, we've created that so that people can communicate with each other, which is really cool. And they never show up publicly. Does that answer your question? Good question, though. That's a good question, Don. Because some people are uncomfortable giving you things in public that will give you plenty of feedback in private. So you just turn moderation on or off. That depends upon your group. I'm trying to get this group to be a little more engaging. So all right. Any other questions? Great question, though. And yes, everything is live. It's easy to fix, and you got a great source of content there. All right. If there's nothing else, then I am going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to bug out of here. I have slipped out into my art studio for the day, and I have my air conditioner going, so it's nice and comfortable. And sometimes it rains and it's supposed to sprinkle this afternoon, and the sprinkling makes me feel more creative than normal. So that's where I'm going to hang out for the rest of the day. You all have a great week, and I'll look forward to seeing you back here next Wednesday, same time, same place. And I'm going to get this up and know that there's also that resources available with the agenda. And there will be a couple of other things I'm going to put in the group this week, and I will let you know by email how that goes. We'll talk about email next week as a means of engagement. Okay. All right. You all have a great time. I look forward to talking to you next week.